Hey guys, Marshall White with LiftBigEatBig.com, and today I'm going to show you a little bit about push pressing. There's obviously, when it comes to overhead, there's three different types of standing press. There's a strict, or some call military press, in which no leg drive is utilized. There's a push press in which leg drive is utilized to get the weight overhead, and then there's a jerk. And the jerk is where leg drive is used to push it over, but then there's a rebend of the knees to catch the weight. I'm going to focus today on the push press with a bar, simply because some of you have seen my jerk videos, and while I do put pretty big weight overhead, I am the world's shittiest jerker. I don't have very good form on it, so I don't even pretend like I do. It's something that Brandon has been working with me on to try to move bigger weights overhead. But what I am pretty good at, and one of the reasons that I can move big weights overhead in a jerk, is because my push press is so good. So I have really good leg drive and I have really good tricep lockout strength, so that allows me to actually move bigger weights with crappy form in a jerk. So I'm going to focus on the push press today and show you how to move big weights overhead. Alright guys, the first thing I want to mention is the shoes that you want to wear while push pressing. As with all of the Lift Big Eat Big athletes, I'm a huge advocate of Olympic weightlifting shoes. I think they're extremely important when putting weights overhead, mainly because they put you in the correct position to put weights overhead. Once you're putting up bigger weights than me overhead, then maybe we can have a discussion about the shoes. But since you're not, and I know you're not, go out and get some Olympic weightlifting shoes, and it's going to help you, okay? The second thing that I'm going to talk about is hand placement. Hand placement is actually going to be a little bit different based on each person, simply because at 340 pounds, I'm going to be a lot wider than, say, a woman who may weigh 130 pounds. Basically what we want to do is we want to get our hands placed to where our elbows are kind of straight up and down. We don't want them nice and, we don't want them in here like this, and we don't want them out here like this, okay? So for me, that actually ends up being ring finger, sometimes pinky finger on the ring then, okay? And what we want to do, once we have our hand placement correct, is we actually want to de-rack the bar just like we would a clean. Just like that. Alright guys, now that we have our hand placement correct, what we want to do when we de-rack that bar is we actually want to let it sit back in our fingertips. That's kind of contradictory to what you want to do, because you want to maintain control of the bar and keep it nice and tight. But in this case, because we're using leg drive, we want all of our leg drive to transfer up into the press. So if we have the bar sitting as far onto our shoulders or our front delts as we can, then more of our leg drive is actually going to transfer, okay? Some people like to wrap their thumb. Some people like to go false grip. To be perfectly honest with you, because of all the pressing and stone loading and things I do, I'm not flexible enough to actually keep my thumb wrapped around it until it gets into really heavy weights. So what I do is I let it sit all the way back, keep my thumb loose, and as I push, you'll actually see me wrap and lock it out, okay? So watch as when I get my hands onto the bar, it's sitting on my delts, watch how much leg drive is actually transferred into that bar as I move it up. Just like that. Okay guys, we have our hand placement correct. We have all the setup up top. What I want to mention next is actually the leg drive that goes into the push press. Where a lot of lifters make a mistake is that they actually want to put a lot of leg drive into it because it's called leg drive. But in reality, most of the drive or the power for a push press actually comes from your hips. If you notice on that press, I didn't do this big number like this and try to push. What I'm actually doing is bringing my hips back a little bit, popping into it, okay? So there is leg drive in the fact that my knees bend, my quads are activated, but a lot of it comes from my hips and glutes. And as most of you know, your hips and glutes are going to be some of your most powerful muscles. They're the squatting muscles, the pulling muscles, and all that. So if they're powerful in that position, why not use them to go ahead and put a big press overhead? And again, guys, this is another reason to put on Ollie shoes. If we're leaning back into it, we're able to sit further back and activate more glutes, more hams, more hips, okay? We have 225 on the bar. We're going to put a little pop into it and show you how to do it. Get our hand placement correct, In this situation, guys, I'm not going peaky on the ring. I'm actually going ring finger on the ring. Okay? You rack just like a clean. Step back. Put a little pop into it. Easy press. Okay, guys, so we put together most of the press here. What I want to reference next is actually the lockout. Like I said, we don't get this full, huge try to drive from our quads and all that. If you notice on that one again, there was a little pop and I push. But as it starts to come off my chest or my shoulders, the minute it starts to leave, guys, I'm trying to jam my triceps and all my shoulders and lats, everything into it as hard as I can. So I let the legs get it moving and then I jam through, okay? The minute it crosses the top of my head's back like this, I'm facing front, I'm looking up. The minute it crosses my head, if you'll notice, I bring through, okay? I bring my head through very fast and try to lock it out as hard as I can, okay? Very simple to do, but you'd be surprised at how many athletes mess up on that thing right there, okay? You notice, guys, we have 315 on the bar. I'm actually putting wrist wraps on this time. I'm a firm believer in protecting the wrist in pressing like this. And when you start getting into heavier weights, your wrist is actually the weak link when it comes to that. So I want to try to protect them as much as I can, okay? Now watch, guys, as it leaves my chest and my delts here, watch how much I try to actually accelerate it. And watch as it gets over the top of my head. Watch as I bring my head through. So again, we want to get our grip. De-rack it just like a clean. Nice pop, and finish it. Pretty simple. Okay, so there you have it. Put all that together to make a really big push press. If you notice, guys, I'm basically popping the bar. Again, I'm not trying to do this huge dip and then trying to press it overhead. I'm popping the bar, jamming my delts, jamming my triceps into it, and finishing strong. If you notice, guys, a little bit of it when it gets heavy, I tend to start trying to do this. And that's where a lot of guys make a mistake too, is they want to try to push back and almost bench press it up. But that's not what we want to do. Even though I'm coming back a little bit, as it crosses my head, I'm trying to jam through again, okay? We want to try to make as much of a straight up and down, not even straight up and down necessarily, but straight up and actually back. We want to finish right over the middle of our heads or a little bit behind. So we have 365 on the bar right now, which is actually a pretty decent push press for me on a standard Olympic lifting bar. So let's put it all together and see if we can put up some decent weight. You also notice on this, guys, I don't know if you can see it or not from the side view, is the weight is getting heavy enough now where it's not completely sitting in my fingertips on my delts. I'm actually keeping my thumb pretty close to all the way wrapped around now. Okay? So we take our grip, de-rack it like a clean. Little drive and go. There it is. There you have it. Kind of all the steps it takes to put together a big heavy push press. In my opinion, guys, push pressing is one of the most beneficial movements you can put into your press training, even for bench press training. Simply because it's a very explosive movement, makes your delts big and strong, makes your triceps big and strong. And it's one of those things that a lot of people neglect for their jerk training because they say, well, I'm a jerker, so I don't even need to push press or I don't even need to strict press. But in reality, if you want your jerk to go up, you need to be strong in every manner of pressing. And really that's the same way with bench pressing too. You're not going to be a 600-pound raw bencher without having a good solid overhead. So throw on some push pressing and see the benefits from it. And to be honest with you guys, it's push pressing is one of those movements that will build big jacked shoulders and triceps, which is always pretty freaking sweet. So Anyways, guys, Marshall White with liftbigeatbig.com. Putting some big nasty presses overhead.